Take down the crisis attitude. Take down the crisis attitude. I know we had a member of our board reach out to me when they saw that title and was like, what? How are you going to do that? Sometimes crisis serves me. So that put a little challenge on my spin for today. And I'm going to start with actually a verse out of the Bible from Psalms. And it's Psalm 107. And it says, some went out on the sea, in ships, and they were merchants of mighty waters. They saw the works of the Lord. I'm going to metaphysically interpret this a little later, so I want you to just listen to this. Okay, they saw the works of the Lord and his wonderful deeds in the deep, for he spoke and stirred up a tempest that lifted high in the waves. They mounted up to the heavens, they went down into the depths. In their peril, their courage melted away. They reeled and staggered like drunkards. They were at their wits' end. Anybody relate to this? They were at their wits' end. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distress. He stilled the storm to a whisper. The waves of the sea were hushed. They were in a crisis. There's also an 8-year-old little girl who went to her father, very ramped up, and she said, Dad, we're in a crisis. We need to start recycling. Her father said, why? She goes, so you can help me save the planet. Excuse me. Dad looked at her with a serious face, and he said, why do you want to save the planet? The 8-year-old little girl said, because that's where I keep all my stuff. She was in a crisis. Isn't that how we are? Big or little things can take us to a crisis mode. 9 weeks ago, most of you know I had major back surgery. That major back surgery got a little more complicated than they expected, and they had to do a little more work and actually screw into not only the rods in my back, but then into my pelvic bones. So I have a very impressive x-ray. So I'm going to take that. If I ever get to go to an airport and get on a plane, I'm sure I'll set off the alarms. But I'll tell you, I was in a crisis for 3 weeks after surgery. The first 3 weeks, this self-reliant woman had to depend on somebody for everything. Everything. My daughter is still telling me things that she had to do for me that I had no idea. It was a blur for me, those 3 weeks. I know how many of us can relate to those men in the boat from Psalms that I just read to you. How many of us can relate to stormy seas and yelling out and being afraid and losing our courage? I know that you can relate. A crisis, right? I know you can relate with a physical challenge. Many of you, I look around and I know many of you have had great physical challenges. Great physical challenges, or your loved one has gone through great physical challenges. And that's a crisis at that moment. And can anyone, like I asked you, can anyone relate to that 8-year-old little girl? There's a crisis, right? The dishwasher broke. There's a crisis. How many things in the course of our day that we perceive as a crisis moment? I look around and I can see most of you in your cars, and I think about what you have gone through in some of your personal lives with family or your own self, and the emotional challenges that you have gone through with family members, and it was a crisis at that moment. And so when I say perceived crisis, I'm going more as you feel it's a crisis, it is a crisis, but do you buy into the crisis? Do you stay in crisis mode? See, that's where I'm talking to you today about how long do we stay in that ramped up energy like that little girl? How long do we stay there? We're breathing from our upper chambers, our intercostals, instead of breathing from our relaxed belly, right? And then we wonder why we have health challenges, because we're breathing from up here. We're in the fear and flight mode so much of the time when we perceive that there is a crisis. The political unrest, the racial tensions, the continuous ins and outs of the, pandemic, mask, no mask, so many perceived crises in our world right now, going on right now. But I'm going to emphasize perceived crises with this. I'm going to invite you today to stop seeing various things as a crisis. I'm not agree. Or is that the alarm going off? Oh, there's a crisis. The alarm's going off on the car. Listen to this statement. I am not contributing when I am seeing things as a crisis. You all want to contribute more in this world, do you not? To the good of this world? You wouldn't be sitting here if that were not true for you. I am not contributing when I see things as a crisis. The Chinese word for crisis is composed of two characters. You hear this often. You've seen it, I'm sure, on a Facebook post. It's composed of two characters. One is danger, the other is opportunity. That's the two elements of the Chinese word for danger. In Unity, we teach to focus on our ability to create. We focus on the ability to see perceived crises as all the Unity churches around are saying this in unison. We are in a huge opportunity with this pandemic to create a new way of being, a new way of doing church. It's absolutely an opportunity here, people, if we choose to see it that way. We have the power to create how? By our thoughts, right? Our thoughts. We also teach that you have the power to choose. We teach this, and I'm going to say we're not teaching you anything new. Honestly, you've known this, but we're here to remind you and encourage you that you do have this power within you to choose. To choose every minute of every day, to choose danger or opportunity. Reverend Kathy would say, every minute of every day you have an opportunity to choose peace or pain. You get to choose it every minute. And at every minute, you can change your mind and choose again. Isn't that beautiful to know that? You're never stuck. You can choose again. We can choose to put gas on the fire of perceived crisis. How do we do that? We got to look within. Come on, you got to get real. How do we put gas on perceived crises? Oh, I want to tell you what I just heard on the news. Let's talk, let's come over here. Let's tell these people about it too, right? Gas, the fire just gets bigger, right? Or I'm going to reply to that post. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. Matter of fact, I'm going to share it. That's how we put fire. We're putting gas on the fire. We can get others riled up, and we can go down the negative rabbit hole, be a victim of the perceived crisis situation, or, what is it? Or we can look at it by being creative. You know, I love what Reverend Sandy last week said, and I wrote this down because I said, I'm going to use this again. She said, what we don't transform, we transmit. What we don't transform, we transmit. Does that make sense? So if we're not being creative and constantly in transformation, seeing things as transformation, then we're doing nothing but transmitting something. I want to transform my life. I want to transform my world. I made a commitment to that after on week 4 of my recovery. Once I got off the painkillers, I was going to transform myself out of this situation. And I again ask you to think about your own life and how much you have transformed in your own life. Look back. Look back. Some of you only have to look back a year. Some of you go back and look at yourself 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, and see how you have transformed. You're powerful human beings. You can look at it by Unity has principle. I'm using Unity's principle, and that is basically principle 3 is thoughts in mind produce of their kind. So I think it, what I think, right? Principle 4 is what? I pray it. So it's important that I get my thinking right, pray it. And then principle 5 is I go and live it, right? I live it. There's where the key is. If you don't get out and practice it, you've done nothing. But maybe had a good day by yourself, but then you're not in the creation mode of sharing your creation, sharing your thinking, sharing your new way of being. You know, when you can see it from a higher perspective, when you go to that higher perspective, you are no longer seeing the world with just your physical eyes. You are seeing the world, most importantly, from your spiritual eyes. And that's where we want you to focus. Because, you know, the Course in Miracles talks about, you know, that all of this, none of this is really real. You know, and I know that's some hard for people to swallow. But I'm just saying that I know that when I focus and I raise my attention higher, my whole world out here, the physical world, changes. I can't explain that. I just know that it works. How's it? It works if you work it. So how do we do this? How do we create from a higher perspective? I'm here to remind you what you already know. You already have these tools in your spiritual toolbox. You were born with them. All right, number 1, you did this in meditation. Number 1 is to breathe. breathe. A fat monk said, happy belly, happy life. I love that. I don't know I hope I don't need that. Happy belly, happy life. Extended belly, happy life. Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm learning, because I've been one of those that thought I need to keep my belly, in. And now I'm learning more and more. And any of you who are singers or musicians, you know what I'm talking about with this diaphragm breathing. Number 2. So number 1 is breathe. Number 2 is you did this again in meditation. I had you do it in meditation on purpose. Gratitude. Breathe. Diaphragm breathing. Relax belly. Gratitude is number 2. Number 3 is pray and meditate. Pray and meditate. And I've heard several people over the last 8 weeks that I was out saying, I still don't know how to meditate. And I'm like, drop that. You're judging yourself. The more you judge yourself, the more you're never going to get to that quiet space of allowing. And that's all you need to do to meditate, is just get quiet. That's all. Focus on the leaves. Look at that orange tree. Can you see that over there? It's so beautiful. That can be a meditation right there. It doesn't have to be a big swanky thing. I'm sorry. I want to go back now. Now I'm going to take you back to the Bible verse. I'm glad you found that paper, Sue, because that's where the Bible verse was. So in Unity, we take the Bible and metaphysically interpret it, because it's got lots of lessons to teach us. And so I want to take this again, right? There were some that went out in the sea in ships. That's us, right? We saw the works of the Lord. Now, this is me personally. I want you to know this is just Kathy's take. When I see Lord in the Bible, I change that word to oneness consciousness. This is me, not Unity stance. Me, that's what it works for me. So, they saw the wonderful works of oneness consciousness. His wonderful deeds in the deep, for he spoke and stirred up a tempest that lifted the high waves. So think about, even when we are in oneness consciousness, okay, and you're doing a pretty good job of it, do we not still have waves and deep waters that come into our life? Absolutely. As long as we're here on this planet in human form, we're going to have that. But the key is to stay in the Lord, right? Stay in oneness consciousness. So they mounted to the heavens, they went down in the depths, and their courage melted away. How many times have you felt your courage melt away? How many times have you felt that? Even just if it was just for a moment. But we've all experienced that, where we started out strong, and then it just kept hitting, and eventually I felt like I was giving up. We've all had some kind of, this is our story here, people. They reeled and staggered like drunkards. Yep, I can relate to that. They were at their wits' end. Then they cried out to their Lord. They cried out to remind themselves of their oneness consciousness. That's where the truth is. And when they did that, the seas calmed. So it's not about not having perceived crises in our life. It's what we do when that perceived crisis comes at us. And can we stay with the Lord? See how you can talk to some of your more fundamental friends? Is absolutely. Only I see it as absolutely. I can go to the Lord, I can go to my oneness consciousness, and I will find the answers. Whew, I got to breathe. I'm going to leave you with 3 things that I would like to invite you to do. I love how Sandy has taught me that. I love that word. I would like to invite you 3 things to try to do every day this week. And I was really afraid I would go over time. I think I'm doing pretty good here today. Let me just turn this around here and attach it so they don't blow away. So, 3 things. In the morning, every morning, ask yourself, how am I going to be in the world today? I'm going to repeat that. Ask yourself, when you're having your cup of coffee or tea or whatever you do in the morning ritual, how am I going to be in the world today? That's a great way to start your morning off, setting it out on the right foot. Number 2 would be 2 and 3. I'm going to ask you to do this at night, but I would not do it. Wait till you go to bed. I'd like to see you ask yourself this after dinner. How did I pray today? How did I pray today? Now, I'm with you. I have a busy life when I'm back to work. I have a very busy life when I'm back to work. And to ask myself that after dinner would make myself stop and give a prayer. Very quickly. To remind myself, you know what? I didn't pray today. I didn't take time to say thank you for anything. And then the 3rd thing to ask yourself after dinner is, how did I meditate today? Now, I know you all laugh at this when I say it, but I mean it. Every time you go to the bathroom is a time to meditate. It's an opportunity to meditate. So you cannot use the excuse, I didn't have time today. You didn't have time to go to the bathroom? We all do it. So we all have an opportunity to meditate, even just for that 1 minute or 3 minutes or however. Some people spend 5 minutes in there. You can take time to do it. How did I meditate today? I'm going to repeat that. So number 1, in the morning, how am I going to be in the world today? Number 2, let me correct that. I want to make sure that you don't change this word. It is not what am I going to do in the world today? We all do a lot of doing, don't we? It's how am I going to be in the world today? Then after dinner, the 2nd thing to do is, how did I pray today? And if you're not sure whether you did or not, then send a quick prayer out to the universe. Send a quick prayer to a friend. Send a text prayer to a friend. And that prayer can just be that I'm thinking about you right now at this moment. That's a prayer. And then the 3rd thing after dinner to ask yourself is, how did I meditate today? Did I meditate today? Reverend Kathy said, I did go to the bathroom. But while I was in the bathroom, I was checking my Facebook page. Oh, come on. You know that people do that. Right? Yep. So, I can choose every day to see crisis as danger or opportunity. One choice will bring me pain. The other choice will bring me peace. We each get to choose that. One of the things that I learned most about being off these 8 weeks, I learned a lot about humility. And I learned a lot about how to work through pain. I learned a lot about what's important in my life, what's not important. I know some ministers, when they take an 8-week, 2-month break, that they kind of like it so much that they don't really want to go back. They kind of enjoy that, right? And yeah, I did. I had some passing thoughts of that. But then my soul did not expand with that thought. The thought of coming back, my soul expanded. What I learned from that, and I'll share with you, is that's how you can tell when you're on the right track or the wrong track. Get in touch with your soul, and when you think about doing this, or moving, or whatever it is, go to your soul and listen to it. And if it feels contractive, it's probably not for your highest good. You have an inner knowing, and that's there in the soul. Now, when you think about that, whatever it is, and you feel your soul expanding, oh yeah, go for it. Go for it, because something great, something wonderful is about to happen. So that's why I came back, because I listened to my soul. And I want that for all of you, whatever that is. I want you to have that kind of life. There is an affirmation that we've created for this week. And I think it may be on your paper. Is it on the paper when they hand it out? Good. Okay, good. So you have it. Facebook audience, I think Sandy's got it up for you. Her and Tony, thank you. So, I want to say this, and we're going to say it 3 times. I'll read it once, just by myself, and then we're going to join in and say it 3 times. I am creatively inspired by the world around me. Ready? I am creatively inspired by the world around me. Take that in. Don't just say it as a bunch of words. Let's do it again. I am creatively inspired by the world around me. Look around you, people, the world around me. And so it is. I end with namaste. Namaste for me means that I truly, truly see and honor that Christ presence in each and every single one of you. Namaste. And